Unpack this a bit more further for us. So we're now joined by Busisiwe Jemsana-Mantashe, Director for Languages and Literature in the Department of Sports, Recreation, Arts and Culture in the Eastern Cape. And she joins us now via our video link. Busisiwe, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. I mean, just looking at the stories from those writers, and I must say that manuscript writers do find themselves in a very difficult position in terms of publishing their written work. Perhaps just paint a picture for us. How bad is this in your province?
Well, Mbali, indeed, it is an extremely costly exercise to publish a manuscript, and as outlined in the package that you've just played, it would cost to about 100,000, and understanding the province where the majority of writers would be coming from poor backgrounds, they would not have this money. But even at a time when they are able to have some monies to go to local publishers who do their job at a half price or at a price lesser than the main publishers would put in, you'd still need these books to be bought, or you still need to sell these books so that they're able to make a living for themselves. And I think that's why then the department has been supporting writers to publish their manuscript, because we need to promote and really promote the culture of reading and writing, but also to make sure that we continue to really craft and have writers coming from the province so that our stories continue to be told, our history continues to be told, but also importantly, Mbali, so that we rewrite our history as a nation and tell our own stories.
And Busisiwe, one would ask, what prompted this move from the department to go out of its way to assist up-and-coming authors, specifically in the Eastern Cape? Would you say that you saw a number of them reaching out to you as a Department of the Arts and Culture?
The department itself, Bali, has got a mandate to support writers. Hence, you would have then this directorate that looks specifically to languages and literature. And part of preserving language is making sure that we invest in the writing of our writers so that language is not lost down the way. And that's why we've been and we continue to urge our writers to write in their own home languages so that we preserve and promote languages, in particular indigenous languages. And just about 2 weeks ago, we made a call for writers to submit manuscripts, and I must say we are very concerned about a manuscript that are written in indigenous languages, in particular Afrikaans and Sesotho in the Eastern Cape. We would like to really urge our writers to submit their manuscript. The call is still open, so that we are able to really have books that are indigenous, books that are told in people's languages, because it's one thing to read a book, but it's another to read a book written in your own language. It speaks to people's identity. It speaks to really preserving our cultures and really telling our own stories in our own language. So there is a need, there is a dire need for support to be given to writers in the province. And I think being the least funded department with the little that we have, we are really trying to make sure that we invest not only in the end product, which is publishing of the manuscript, but also investing in the workshops that will craft writers so that if they are not published by the department, they are able to find publishers for themselves. And we're really calling on the private sector, Mbali, to come on board, the SETAs that really deal with the publishing industry to come on board so that we jointly work together and stretch the little set that we have as a department. Because much as it is extremely costly for writers, it is also costly for the department, looking at the demand for people who want their manuscripts to be published. And so we think with the help and the assistance of the private sector, we'll be able to go a long way to make sure that we get these books out there, but also deal with the high illiteracy levels in the province. And so when you have communities that are able to produce writers, that would go a long way in motivating and encouraging reading and writing from the same communities, but also being able to make sure that young people are able to express their art, they're able to write, they're able to be in poet and write their poems, so that we continue to produce we continue to produce Peter Mthuze, we continue to produce Ononi Jabavu, Omonde Nkasawe, or Professor Saule, and the many writers that have been coming from the province of the Eastern Cape.
And so considering how expensive it is to publish written work, I mean, you as a department are calling on for those writers to come forward to try and apply for some sort of assistance from government. Perhaps tell us how this will actually work. How does the department step in? What is the process looking like in terms of helping one to publish their written work?
Well, the call that we have made is for those who have started writing and have finished their manuscript to submit their manuscripts to our email, which is languages@ecsroc.gov.za, languages@ecsroc.gov.za. And soon we'll be making a call for publishers or going on tender so that publishers submit and make proposals in terms of what they can and what would that work look like, so that we take this manuscripts and we give them to the publisher, who would then go through each and every manuscript and see which manuscript is publishable, and on those that they will be able to publish, then continue the dialogue with the writer themselves, do the editing, the reviewing of the book, the cover page, and the distribution. And I think the MEC has been very clear to say that the books that we published this year, she wants to see them at major bookstores, and so we're looking for publishers that will take these books from us, look at the editing and the whole value process of really producing a book, but also make sure that they land at the major bookstores in the province. But over and above that, we do buy these books, Bali, and put them in our libraries across the province, so that we really promote the culture of reading and writing. And so we are wanting our writers to have options of these books being sold to our libraries, but also these books being sold to major bookstores so that they can in turn sell them. The tricky part about one publishing a book for themselves and really getting distributed that they would put the book in these major bookstores is that when you've not had support or funding that is augmenting the price or that cost of that book, it means when your book is sold, there will be monies taken, 30 rands taken for the editing of it, another 30, 70 rands taken for someone, for the company that says we put the cover page, we did the editing, and at the end of the day, you'd notice that the writer would be left with maybe 30 rands, 100 rands out of the work that they have put into the work of producing that work. And I think that is why they, as a department, we want to step in so that we see our budding writers growing to a point where they're able then to really produce manuscript for themselves and publish for themselves. We would really want in the long run for these manuscripts to be sold nationwide and across, being bestsellers. And you think this workshop is a step towards the right direction. Right. I mean, being in the presence of the renowned writers such as Jemsana-Mantashe, Professor Saule, Monde Nkasawe, and also Akana, one of the best publishers in the country, would surely be a step towards the right direction in planting a seed and really equipping them. And I think what has been something to really that we've tried to do, Bali, is that in the 20 writers that were in one room, we've also been taking the workshop, streaming it live, so that even writers that are across the province that were not able to bring into Hawksburg are able to look and really follow the workshop. And fortunately for us, it is still on the departmental Facebook page for anyone who would want to equip themselves to go and at a touch of a button, follow that workshop and really start rewriting their manuscript or writing their manuscript from scratch and really approaching the department.
All right, so if you could quickly wrap it up for us, one would ask, now that you've made this call as the department, reaching out to these writers, are there writers who've already taken advantage of this opportunity?
Yes, we've been seeing a number of writers, and in fact, I've just looked through the submissions that were made. Writers continue to send their manuscript, but I think what we have noticing, which is a concern for us, is that we had said writers must produce or send manuscripts that are at least 100 pages. We're seeing writers that are sending manuscripts that are less than those prescribed numbers. but also we're seeing the majority of manuscripts that are sent being in English and isiXhosa. And I think I want to emphasize again the need to also get manuscripts that are written in Afrikaans, manuscripts that are written in Sesotho, because those are 4 official languages in the province, and that would help us to deal with the dominance of English as an official language, so that we're able to promote even these other official languages to the status of English that we are seeing. And so we continue, Mbali, want to urge our writers to continue to submit their manuscript. The call closes on the 6th of June, and so there is still time for them to submit their manuscript. And really hope that we'll be able to publish those. But over and above that, we'll continue to share with them online writing workshops that are going to be free, that are going to be enjoyed at the comfort of their homes.
Busisiwe, thank you so much for your time this evening. That is Busisiwe Jemsana-Mantashe. She is the spokesperson or the director for languages and literature for the Department of Sports, Recreation, Arts and Culture in the Eastern Cape, reaching out there to those budding writers and those who want their manuscripts to be published. Of course, there is some sort of assistance there being given by the department in the Eastern Cape.